sorry about that. When I was meditating on this month's reading for you, I saw two images. So the first one that I'm seeing is, I see this city, okay? So it's kind of like a perspective drawing of a city, buildings on each side, there's a road, and in the distance, there's this mushroom cloud that comes up. So I don't know if it's like a volcano that has erupted, leaving a cloud of dust filling up the atmosphere, or if it's just like almost like an atom bomb with a mushroom cloud. And it grows and grows and grows bigger. And I feel like there is something kind of like a impending situation that's gonna happen for this month, and you're kind of seeing it unfold, you know, right in front of you, and you have kind of like a distant view where you're not in any immediate danger from it. You're not the one involved in it. You're watching it kind of like happen, and you're kind of like getting the premonition that something is going to happen. And so what I feel, though, is you have two options. You know, do I walk towards it and try to diffuse the situation? Do I want it to blow over and then I can come in the aftermath and do the cleanup and to make sure everybody's okay? Or can I, from where I am right now, do something to mitigate the impact of that situation imploding? Okay? I don't feel like it has anything to do with you, because once again, the perspective is that you're really far from it. And I don't feel like it's happening I don't feel like it involves you, but I definitely feel like you have the opportunity to come in or decide to, you know, either fix it, mitigate the effects of it, or to, you know, come in the aftermath to try to fix the situation. You have a lot of cards that jumped out. So that's what I'm seeing. I'm also seeing a very, very big pregnancy vibe with you guys as well, because when that mushroom cloud was kind of like growing, it feels to me like it's something that is internal that's growing as well. So I feel like, you know, there might be a huge change on the horizon. So for those who are expecting, or for those who are, you know, trying to get pregnant, for those who are not trying to get pregnant, you know, there is something in the distance that I feel like you need to keep a close eye out on, and you need to be a little bit more forward leaning when it comes to, you know, planning your core major arcana cards that are clustered together. And so I feel like this is going to be a really, really powerful month when it comes overall to pushing your career forward, okay? So that's the first thing here. But there's another message that I'm seeing. I see like this desk, okay? And I feel like there are things, so like a paperweight, a stapler, a notepad, sticky notes, a telephone. It's kind of like strewn all across the table without any type of rhyme or reason, like without any, it's like organized chaos. And so I see a hand picking up the phone, straightening it. I see another hand picking up the stapler, putting it back into the drawer, filing away the notes and the notepad, like straightening things. So I feel like you're doing a lot of that. You're called upon to kind of like straighten out situations, possibly even putting out fires. You're called upon to be the kind of like the responsible one to kind of like set things right, because whoever was there before you didn't do things right the first time. So I'm seeing a lot of damage control. I'm seeing a lot of cleanup, like it's almost like a cleanup after something has gone wrong. You know, it's almost like after like a major industrial accident, for example, you're the one that's being called in to kind of write a report, to kind of like investigate, to make sure everything is straightened out, okay? So like the cleanup crew, or even the person that's in charge of handling the situation so that it doesn't spread, okay? So containment is a big, big word that I'm seeing or I'm hearing for this month. And I feel like, you're kind of like called in based on your skills and your expertise in order to make a situation, in order to straighten out a situation, to iron out all the wrinkles in a specific situation. So that's what I'm feeling, and I feel like it's a very appropriate role for many of you, mainly because you guys are very, very sensible, and you generally, I feel like earth signs are very good under pressure. Okay, you don't let like the pressure, the chaos in your immediate environment steer you one way or the other. Your rational mind kicks in. And I feel like you're able to handle situation triage and to be able to figure out, what needs to be done first, what needs to be done last, and to not let your emotion get rattled, and to not let your emotion steer you down a bad course of action. So because of that, I feel like you're required to do a lot of cleaning up in the aftermath of a situation, okay? So I guess all of these messages do tie in with that mushroom cloud, because you're seeing something unfolding in the distance, and you're kind of like, on the straight path towards it, and you're trying to figure out, like, do I just let it happen? Do I just let it, run its natural course and then come in and clean up after? Or do I want to take a preemptive approach and to kind of like run towards it and to prevent it from happening? Because I feel like time is definitely on your side. And, or do I want to, what is the other option here? So come in on the aftermath. Well, we have a lot of court cards here as well. Come in on the aftermath, or just let it play itself out and then do the cleanup after. Or do I not even want to get involved? There's also that third option. Do I just, go about my business and let it unfold and not have anything to do with it because it doesn't immediately concern me, okay? I don't feel turning a blind eye to this situation is going to be possible. Mainly because with that mushroom cloud, it's something that spreads and it can affect the environment. And even though you're kind of like far away from it, I feel like it does affect you. So whatever you decide to do, I feel like the decision is very, very big. It needs to be weighted out, and it weighted out as in you need to really think about this carefully, okay? And I feel like, yes, time is on your side, but I'm sensing many of you are going to want to come in the aftermath to fix the situation. Okay, so cleanup crew. That's what I'm seeing. Men coming in with those robes. It's like a blue robe. It zips up in the front, and then they're coming in with their mops to do some cleaning. Okay, so I feel like that's what's happening here. The first two cards that you have out of the deck are phenomenal, okay? And I'm glad we're leading with two major arcana cards that are also very powerful. So the sun indicates your public image, your reputation, the way in which you exert your energy, especially in a work environment, especially in an environment where you're shining, where a lot of people are around you, where what you do can really make or break a situation, okay? We also have here the Wheel of Fortune. And the Wheel of Fortune is basically, I feel like with these two cards, it's your turn to shine. If you have been feeling like, when is my day under the sun is going to come? Or when am I going to be able to spread my wings? When am I going to get the recognition? When am I going to get, the accolades? I feel like this is the month in which all your past actions, all the things that you have done, will come home to roost. So that means you have the limelight, you have people's undivided attention, and you're put in an environment where a lot of people will be looking at you. You're getting a lot of visibility. This is a card, well, both of these cards in tandem indicate to me fame and fortune, okay? Getting a lot of visibility, getting a lot of positive reception, getting a lot of opportunities where you're thrust in the limelight. And honestly, I'm seeing a lot of people that might have been working behind the scenes, and then in something implodes, and then you're kind of like, interviewed by the crew, the news crew even. You're interviewed, and people are asking you, why did you do this? What is your advice? Like, how can we prevent it from happening the next time? So I feel like you're being kind of, people are like picking your brains, trying to figure out, you know, how you decided on that course of action, because whatever you decided on, I feel like it worked out really well and people are in all of it. And as a result, they're trying to pick your brains to figure out how you arrived at such a spectacular, I guess, decision. Okay. So we're getting a lot of fame, a lot of fortune, and a lot of like being thrust in the limelight. And I feel like you're soaking it up. Okay. Which is great. When it comes overall, there was also another thing when I was shuffling too. The left hand was cramping up, so I don't know if you're dealing with numbness, if you're dealing with like, if you've been writing a lot, typing a lot, if your hand in particular is positioned in a really awkward way where you're experiencing like muscle spasms or even like poor blood flow. I feel like there's going to be something like I feel like a cortisol shot injected into the system to kind of like make something bigger so that things can flow. Okay. um, I know that sounds really weird, but what I'm feeling is, if there has been any type of health issues as it relates to blockages, as it relates to things being constricted and the flow is not there, I feel like it's going to be alleviated for this month, and you're going to start to get some relief when it comes to health issues for those who are dealing with that. Okay. Um, I'm also seeing you in a position where you're directing people. You're telling people, go here, go there. And I feel like, you're directing the flow of traffic as well. Guiding people as to the correct way to do things, or guiding people as to, where they're supposed to go, where they're needed. So I definitely see a lot of emergency relief where there's like a big crowd. You're doing crowd control and you're kind of like calming everybody in the process. Okay. So obviously, that's not going to apply to everybody, but I feel like in some capacity, many of you might be dealing with that, either on a large scale with with a big crowd, or on a smaller scale with a smaller group of people. But I feel like there's a sense of like people not really sure where they're supposed to go. There's a little bit of anxiety and panic, and you're kind of like the balm that soothes the anxiety and the panic within other people. Okay, so you're coming in very, very strong. And the reason I say that here is we have here the Page of Pentacles and the Knight of Pentacles. These are representative of earth signs, so Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. But what I'm seeing here is a maturation process. Okay, so if we look at the page, pages, they work as a squire for like a knight, right? So they might have to be the ones to like put the horse to sleep after the knight comes home, right? So they work in the stable. They have like a wooden sword is what I'm also seeing. And they're in training. It's like an apprentice who is in training to be a knight. And I feel like for many of you, if you have been training for a specific career path, being like if you have been groomed for a specific position, if you have been in training to occupy a specific role, if you have been, learning a lot of things in a very theoretical way, and you're waiting for that opportunity for you to apply your knowledge into the real world to kind of test yourself. It's like you're antsy. You're antsy for that opportunity to be able to finally put all your skills to good use, to really know, am I capable of doing it? Am I good at what I'm doing? Am I trained properly? And I feel like you're just anxious. Okay, so you're like anxious where you're doing like the busy work. You're doing the work that is, I want to say, beneath you, beneath your skills and your caliber, because you have a lot more to offer. And yet, what I'm seeing with this page energy is, it's sort of like, I'm thankful to have this job. I'm thankful to be groomed. I'm thankful for these opportunities to learn. And so you're very humble about it. Okay, you don't look at it like, oh, this is beneath me. I feel like you're very thankful to have what you have. and you're able to, be humble about it. And the sense of humility, I feel like the universe is giving you a big reward here, where you're finally upgrading to a knight. You're able to be on the front lines. You're able to see new things. You're able to see situations unfold. You're able to have the skills and the knowledge and the tools, the horse, the armor, the sword, in order to come to a situation and to resolve it. So I feel like we're no longer stuck in the stable taking care of the horses. We're kind of like on the forefront of change, charging towards a situation to make it better. So there's a huge upgrade here, and that is why I mentioned there is it's like your energy is coming in very strongly, and I feel like there's a major career uptick, or a major kind of like you're thrust in the limelight where you can show your skills. Okay, so that's what I'm feeling here, and I can't help but feel this is coming as it's like at the expense of somebody else. And I know that has a really negative connotation, but what I mean is I feel like somebody was doing it the wrong way. And I feel like they were very, very stubborn. They did it the wrong way. And they refused to admit their mistakes. They refused to be accountable for their wrongful actions. And as a result of it, you're the one called in to kind of fix the situation. So what I have here is the Seven of Rods, and the Seven of Rods indicates defensiveness, okay? It's a situation where somebody is like, they're shooting a lot of, they're being bombarded with a lot of things, a lot of questions, a lot of skepticism, a lot of like, why did you do this? Why did you do that? And I feel like rather than just owning up and saying, hey, I messed up, I feel like they took a really defensive approach. They might play the fool. They might be like, oh, I didn't know. Or they might, pass the buck like, oh, it wasn't me. It was so-and-so who was supposed to oversee operations, and they slept on their watch, or they weren't there when everyone needed them, or they weren't where they're supposed to be. So I feel like there's somebody in your environment here who dropped the ball. And then when they're given an opportunity to explain themselves, rather than admitting their fault, they're being very, very, very defense here. And it's because they're trying to save their skin. Okay, so this is like winner takes all type of a card, or it's a card where there is like an empty victory. Okay, and I feel like it came as a result of somebody being very, very defensive, not admitting everything that they've done. For some of you, you could be dealing with a fire sign, a Sagittarius, an Aries, or a Leo. Someone who's a little bit hot-headed. Okay, and somebody who bit off more than they could chew, and as a result, they couldn't handle things properly. So I feel like it's because of poor time management. It's because of lack of planning. It's because of, they're underestimating the difficulty of the work required of them. And then for others, you might be dealing with an air sign, an Aquarius, a Gemini, or a Libra. And this is somebody who wants to do things on their own, and they either, I'm hearing, refusing to follow instructions, refusing to, take that extra time to do something properly, or they're like kind of a little bit too proud to ask for help, and so they're trying to clean up everything or handle everything on their own. And so these might be the two energies that you have in your environment, and then as a result of it, I feel like you're called in the aftermath to try to, fix the situation, okay? So that's what I'm getting here. Finances. I'm going to pull out another card, actually, because I feel like there's an upgrade. And then we have the Five of Pentacles. And what I'm sensing is, I feel like, there's definitely an upgrade here. We're moving from, actually, it's the Page and then the Knight, sorry. So we have the Page of Pentacles, which is the apprentice, moving into the Knight of Pentacles. Somebody who's definitely a lot more financially stable and a lot more financially well off. But I feel like for you guys, Taurus, it's like, you want your money to work for you. You want money to be able to provide you with a good life. And so it's really pertinent for you to, live within your means. And also, think about work is not just about, clearing the paycheck, coming home at the end of the day to get the paycheck. It's about doing things to the best of your capabilities, loving your job, wanting to be a master of your craft. Okay? So we need a little bit of a paradigm shift here when it comes to the work that we do. We don't just want to coast. We don't just want to do the minimum required of us in order to collect that paycheck by the end of the month, by the end of the week, or whatever, however you get paid, by the end of the contract or the end of the terms. Because what I have here is the Five of Pentacles, and this is kind of like that sense of financial lack. But in general, you have so much success coming in. You have an upgrade from a page to a knight. So what I feel is learning to live within our means, finding abundance in other things aside from the material things and the luxurious things and the things that bring us that sense of decadence and that sense of opulent, okay? So I feel like there's a need here to really get back to the fundamental roots when it comes to the way you assess your value, the way you look at your job, the way you look at your income, to be able to figure out that it matters a lot more, that I love the work that I do, that I'm proud of what I do. And it matters a lot more to me that I have room to grow in the work environment rather than dashing off to find that job that pays well when your heart is not 100% in it, okay? I feel for many of you, there might be a situation here as well where there are big expenses that are not accounted for, okay? So I feel for many of you, I'm sensing like car issues, okay, where it's like you didn't anticipate it and there's like a huge expense that you have to drop on a vehicle. I'm also sensing as well there might be a situation where you're fighting over or arguing over, possibly with a significant other, when it comes to financial resources. Somebody might be very, very frivolous when it comes to their spending, and you're like, you need to kind of curb it because our finances are joined together. And then another person could be like very reckless with spending. You might be the sole breadwinner for the entire household, whereas the other person is just kind of like riding your coattails, and they're very irresponsible because they see you as this source of abundance, and they don't have to lift a finger. They might not understand the true value of how hard you've had to work. And then I also feel like for many of you, you're working really, really hard to provide for somebody that you really care about, and I feel like they're not 100% appreciative of everything that you've done, and I feel like you forego a lot for yourself. I'm seeing somebody who's like working really, really hard to take care of the spouse and to take care of the kids. And I'm seeing somebody who, like, for example, your phone might be, malfunctioning, and you've always wanted to get a new phone. And you're just like, oh, I can wait. It's too expensive. I can't justify that in my mind. Or I'd rather, spend that money on my partner or buy something nice for the kids. So you make a lot of sacrifices for your partner, for the kids, for the household. And you forego a lot of things that you need in order to keep them satiated and happy. And I feel like, in a way, they might not be fully appreciative of all the sacrifices that you have made for them. And I'm seeing a water sign, a Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio. And I feel like, in a way, this person has got like I don't know, like a grass is greener type of mentality, where I honestly just feel like a sense of entitlement, you know. And I feel like generally water signs are very caring, very loving, very considerate in general. But I feel like there might be some kind of a disconnect here where, and I'm seeing a lot of Taurians. You guys are, you don't sit there and tell your partner, oh yeah, this is everything that I've done for you. You don't sit there and, itemize. I did this for you yesterday. I did that for you. You do what needs to be done. A lot of earth signs in general are very action oriented. Okay. If the roof is leaking, you climb on that roof, you patch it. If the table is wobbly, you wedge something underneath the table so that it's stable. You don't talk about what you're going to do. You just do them. And I feel like you're dealing with somebody who is, I feel like they need that type of like, oh, let me talk through things. Okay. And you can, you will know whether or not this resonates, because you might be dealing with somebody who like has to talk things through everything that they plan to do. They talk things through, they decide. Once they decide how they feel about it, that's when they take action. So if you're sitting down at a restaurant, right, and the table is like wobbly, they're going to be like, oh wow, this table is really wobbly. Kind of like pointing out the obvious, right? And then if left to their own devices, they might spend the entire dinner talking about how wobbly the table is. If left to your devices, you will fold something, a piece of paper, a napkin, whatever it is, and you wedge it underneath the table. So you're dealing with somebody who is not as action oriented, and because they're so slow to take action, they might not see everything that you're doing, all the sacrifices that you've made to them for them for their betterment, to provide for them, to really take care of them. And I feel like in a way they're not really 100% appreciative of everything that you bring to the table. And so what I do have here is a situation where somebody needs to be reminded. And I'm also feeling as well, honestly, somebody might be exiting the picture, okay? Mainly because they're not right for you, okay? So that's what I'm sensing here. And I'm seeing this water sign, Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio. And I feel like this is somebody that you've known for a really, really long time. I'm seeing like rags to riches, You've known them from way back when, before you have built your empire, before they have built their empire. And then as a result of time passing, I feel like you might have drifted apart emotionally. Finances might have interfered with the relationship as well. And then I'm also seeing that I feel like you're starting to see, I see a passage of time here in this spread. And I feel like the relationship was really good at the very beginning. And then through the passage of time, life catches up with us, right? And then as a result of it, you might not feel like you're totally emotionally connected with them anymore. You might feel like you have this sense of loyalty towards them, but they might not be 100% nurturing you and providing for your emotional needs anymore. And so we have a situation here with the lovers. It's a big choice that you have to make here. And when it comes to Taurian energy, I feel like a lot of it has to deal with responsibility and loyalty versus what the heart really wants. The heart wants to be nurtured. The heart wants to be, acknowledged, okay? And I feel like there's a situation here where you're not getting that emotional nurturing. You're not getting that appreciation. It's almost like somebody is you give of yourself and your cup runs dry, and then the other person, in a healthy and stable relationship, it's a mutual give and take. Okay, one person has to give to the other. Otherwise, the cup runs dry. And I feel like there is a situation here that might be a little bit one-sided. And yes, there's a lot of history. Yes, there's a lot of loyalty. And yes, there's a lot of responsibility that's keeping the two people in place. But I'm also sensing the heart is not getting its emotional needs met. And as a result of it, you might be the one who chooses to leave this situation because your needs are not being met. That's what I'm feeling here. Career is going really, really well. You're getting a lot of opportunities where, it's like giving talks, okay? Giving talks, giving speeches, giving your expertise, and your sharing your best practices with other people. You're being interviewed is what I'm seeing. But I'm also feeling like, this area is working out really, really well. The love department, I feel like things needs to be tweaked, or there's a situation here where it's kind of like on its last leg, okay, that wobbly table. Things are wobbly. And in the past, you have always been the one to kind of wedge that little piece of paper underneath this table to keep it stable. But now it's like, I cannot do that anymore. What I have here as well with the passage of time is I have the Page of Cups. This is kind of like you have been dealing with somebody who was, it's like puppy love, okay? You've been with somebody, it could potentially be like a childhood sweetheart, like a college, the first person you've ever been intimate with, okay? And you've been with them since. And I feel like it might have been, just for a lack of experience. You've stayed and stayed and stayed. And now you're getting ready to fly, okay? There's an upgrade here. I don't mean an upgrade in the person because, people are all different. They're in our lives for different reasons. But what I feel is, your emotional needs are different from what it used to be. So whatever did it for you in the past, it might not be appropriate anymore. And then I also feel the other person is growing. We have the Page of Cups as well as the Knight of Cups. Everybody's upgrading. Everybody is like maturing. Everybody wants different things now that they're in a different part of their life or in a different age bracket. So I feel like it's kind of like a mutual parting of the ways, or a situation where you have kind of outgrown one another. And you're starting to see it, I feel like, for what it is. Okay, there's this definitely an emotional rift here. So, what is this Lovers in relations to? I have here Ten of Swords. And, let's see this card. Five of Wands. There has been a lot of bickering. This is like very, very mindless bickering. A lot of the times, right, in relationships, people fight over one thing, and then one thing leads to another, and then they revert back to this argument about something very, very mundane that happened like 6 months ago that one person is unwilling to let go of, okay? So it's like a situation where it's like, yes, you're arguing. At the end of the day, you're arguing about things that happened in the past. You're arguing about things that are, in the greater scheme of things, very, very insignificant. And yet the arguments keep happening because two people, their paths are diverging. They're no longer able to see eye to eye with one another. And I also feel there's a Ten of Swords here. So there might have been a situation where somebody feels, and this is something I'm seeing too, and obviously not going to apply to everybody, but one partner might have, stepped out of the relationship, confess, or have gotten caught. And whenever that happens, the other person, the other partner, the one that was cheated on, often harbors a lot of resentment. And the trust issues will always be there, right? It will always be there. And then the person that did the cheating feels very indebted. Like, oh, my partner forgave me. They must really love me. So even though they have resentment towards me, I'm going to stay in this relationship. I'm going to try to make it better. I'm going to, make it all up to them. And so there's a situation here where there is a lot that has been done, a lot that has been said. And I feel like you kind of need to check yourself out of this situation because it's not getting better. It's not getting better, okay? I'm going to leave it at that, Taurus. And obviously, this is not going to apply for all. And I feel as if you're looking at a situation where, you really care. You really, really care about a person. But whether or not they're the right person for you, I feel like you have to be really upfront and honest with yourself. Whether or not they meet the checklist, whether or not they meet the criteria, whether or not, this is going to be like for the long haul, okay? I will leave it at that. I wish you all the best, okay? And let me see. Once again, I apologize for the delay with this reading. I'm going to try to do it more timely next month, and I hope the reading is still relevant for you guys. I'm still getting emails from clients. If you're interested in a reading, I don't do them anymore, but I do have a link in the description box below for a psychic based out of California. Her name is Bridget. She is really, really good. I highly recommend her. So if you're looking for some spiritual guidance or a reading for yourself or for somebody that you know, please click in the link in the description box below, and it will take you to her scheduling website. All right. Best of luck with everything, Taurus. Take care of yourself, and I will talk to you guys soon.